All right, folks, welcome back to this Monday edition of Double Jab Radio inside the Journeyman Boxing Studios. I'm Rich Quinones. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, RichQ1Q. As always, check us out online at journeymanboxing.com. Beyond the fight, if you want some great insight on amateur boxing, young fighters across the country, definitely lock us in as we always talk AMI ranks as well as the pro circuit. Switch gears a little bit. Some female boxing, as always, this edition of Double Jab Radio, courtesy of our good friends at Grit to Glory. Check them out online, grit2glory.com for all your inspirational merchandise, some gorgeous tees and some t-shirts to choose from. That's grit2glory.com. We mentioned earlier in the show, we talked a little bit about what transpired over the weekend. We'll talk more about just the wonderful performance by Canelo Alvarez, just dominating James Kirkland inside of 2 rounds. We'll also get into Amir Mansour dispatching a fading Joey DeWacho on Friday night fights. We'll get into that, but I want to switch gears again. Some good female bouts across the country. Noemi Bosques getting set to take on Heather the Heat Hardy, and it's always good to talk a little female boxing with Noemi, and it's a really, I believe, a defining fight of her young career, and she's kind enough to join us for a couple of moments. And Noemi, always good to catch up with you. How are you?
Everything's going great. It's not too also. We're just getting ready for this amazing opportunity versus Heather Hardy. I've had a great training camp with over here in Winter Haven with Tony Morgan, and I'm feeling the best ever. Even 4 weeks out, I feel better than I have the last 2 fights. So I'm really excited to put on a great show for everybody out there.
Well, I know it's tough sometimes to look past an opponent, and we're not going to do that, but I want to kind of go back to your last bout, because I know it was a tough fight for you against Nadia Feliciano, and it was a split decision loss, and you were coming off a real nice winning streak. You had that big win against Cordova, and just take us back to the fight against Nadia a couple, about 2 or so months ago, and what, I guess in your eyes, what went wrong? Did you just not do enough? Was it an ugly affair? Was it just a situation where you just couldn't get in a rhythm?
I'm the type of person who accepts loss, and it's something that this fight, I really, because I was sick so many days, and because there was a lot of personal problems going on, I really shouldn't have taken the fight, to tell you the truth. But my warrior heart, my fighter spirit, and on top of that, I had so many tickets sold already, and I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to have to go ahead and go in there. I done made my bed, sick or not, whatever problem's going on, I'm going to go in there and fight. And it was just one of those things where it was just pure heart, my mind was not there, and everyone who was in the audience that knows me well told me the same thing. But Nadia still gets my respect. She's a tremendous, strong fighter. I would definitely love an opportunity to see her again. I think I could definitely beat her at ease next time.
Was there anything throughout the course of the bout? You mentioned you were sick and you had some things going on outside the ring, so you weren't at 100% full strength, and could have been physically as well as mentally. But was there anything from a boxing standpoint that she did that gave you some issues throughout the course of that fight?
What she did very well, and I didn't realize it until after, was she did very well at controlling the center of the ring. In my mind, she's a bigger fighter, so as a smaller fighter, you're supposed to circle your way around the bigger opponent in the middle, but you have to bring a lot more action. You can't just pop shot and be on the outside and expect to win. If you're going to play the outside and then leave your opponent in the middle of the ring, you've got to be a lot busier and a lot more aggressive. And I just wasn't that. I guess I just settled for pop shots here and there. I could have gone a little harder and been busier.
Were you shocked by the outcome, or was it a fight that you knew when it was over that you didn't win it?
Yeah, I thought I won it. I figured it'd be a close fight, or if anything, at the least, a draw. I was very surprised when they called her as the winner. You can see it in my face in the pictures. My mouth is wide open.
Well, that's...
like I said, hats off to her. She did what she was supposed to do.
Let's move forward to the fight against Heather Hardy. And again, that'll take place Friday, May 29th at the Barclays Center in New York. It's a DeBella Entertainment scheduled 8-round affair. That'll be on the Amir Khan Chris Algieri card. So not only great venue, great opportunity, but really a stacked card. Let's talk a little bit about your opponent, Heather the Heat Hardy. High ranking, very good super bantamweight, coming off a disappointing contest against Renata Domzadi, and that was only because it was a no contest, and that fight couldn't continue after 3. But you look at her track record and some of her opponents that she's faced over the years. A lot of people thought that she lost against Jackie Trevellino, which was a really, in my eyes, a very tough fight for her against a fighter that was a fighter that fights in the pocket and is pretty aggressive at times. A couple questions on this one. What's your overall scouting report on Heather Hardy, and what do you think, without giving the game plan away, obviously, what do you think you can do that can kind of upset the apple cart here in this one?
Well, Heather Hardy is a tremendous fighter. She always comes in great shape, and she is nonstop punching the whole entire fight. Those are her strengths. Okay? I believe that giving her different angles and not standing in front of her like much of her other opponents have done, many of her other opponents, I'm curious to see how she's going to react. I think I could take over. Being a smaller, faster fighter, I think she's gonna have a hard time with my speed. So that's gonna be put to the test for her. She's definitely a bigger fighter, but that's where my speed is gonna come in. I'm very fast, so she's just gonna have to deal with a little bit of lightning. There's a lightning show. It'll be a great fight though because she's non-stop going forward, and I realize I have to win very, very consistently to beat her in her hometown. So it'll be a great matchup. Great matchup. You kind
of took what I wanted to say right out of my mouth. I mean, when you look at Heather, and she is a solid fighter. The reality is she's fought every pro fight in New York, in her backyard. And, again, you know this. Any fighter knows this. When you go on the road, so to speak, you're giving up a round. So when they say close out the round in a flurry, I'm not talking about that 10 seconds. This is a fight where your mindset is, hey, listen, I have to have that clock go off with less than 30 seconds if I think I'm behind or if I think I'm ahead. Get that ring generalship, finish off the rounds. Is that something that you're as part of your training and is also part of the mental game here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We realize that we have to go 100% or nothing. We've got every single odd against us. She's a bigger opponent, undefeated record. We're fighting in her hometown, on her promotion. We have absolutely everything against us. So we're definitely going in the gym as hard as possible. So if skills are not doing its job, then I'm going to be faster and throw way more punches. You understand? So we got to be prepared to be skillful, smart. But if it goes down to, we've got some more output going out, then we're prepared for that also.
Do you look at this as the biggest fight of your career?
Absolutely. 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 She's definitely going to be the toughest opponent I've had in a bigger weight division. She's undefeated. So this is definitely a big, I've never fought at 123 pounds. Most of my fights have been at 112 or 115. Lately I've fought a couple 118. So this is a big jump. It's going to be a big test for me as well. So, it's going to force me to be on my P's and Q's. I'm ready.
Do you think adding maybe 3, 4, 5 pounds going forward in this one to make the weight? I mean, it's interesting where most of the time fighters will typically try to drop down to some extent if they have an excess. And the reason I say that is because in female boxing it's tougher to put on that weight, and it's also tougher to take off the weight. So what's the challenge here with you for the next couple of weeks to try to put on a couple more pounds? I mean, is it just more eating, or you're gonna do a little more weight training, so to speak?
Well, the good thing is that I am over 123. For my last fight, I went up as high as 135 pounds. So 123 may actually be a very good weight for me because I don't have to dry out so small.
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like,
so you're coming down. You're coming down.
I'm still coming down.
Okay.
Yes. I just don't have to go down as much, so I can still eat, my chicken and my protein, and I'll have to diet so strictly.
You think you think that drastic of a drop is going to zap any of your energy or strength or any of your power?
No, because I don't have to drop so much at all. I'm almost there already. 3 weeks, 4 weeks out.
Okay, so you're
So
headed.
I'm literally eating comfortably. I'm, eating very lean, but I'm able to eat my 5 times a day. I don't have to watch anything. I'm very strong at this weight.
2 more before I let you get out of here, and we talked about this in the past. When you look at some of the opportunities, it's tough to get fights at different weight classes, especially in female boxing. But when you look at this fight going forward, and you said this is the biggest fight of your career, what would be, I guess, the ideal situation if you were to win this fight? Are you looking to more or less start to look outside the U.S. For bigger fights and bigger paydays?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's where, if you want to do anything in women's boxing, anything great, you have to start moving outside of the U.S. Because the U.S., yes, they hold fights here. There are great women fighters here, but when you're going versus these girls against, where they're in other countries, the opposition is just amazing because that's all they do. We're over here, we're working, we still got to do all this. So it's also a lot more known. There's more fans out there. It's ideal for a woman who wants to do anything in boxing to go overseas. Yeah. It's our wish.
Is there anyone that, and again, this is not a slight on your next opponent, Heather Hardy, but is there anyone that is also on your radar? I'm not asking you to look past her. I'm just asking you, is there any one particular fighter that's on your radar going forward?
I can't really sit here and say I want to point anybody out. I just want to climb the ladder. So after Hardy, a lot of things will depend on who the next opponent is, including how I felt at 123. Should I go back down 215 pounds? So it's hard to pinpoint an opponent right now. I'm still kind of trying to figure out what weight is I'm going to be at best, and then go from there. Okay, 123 is good. Who's next? Shelly Vincent's next. You understand what I'm saying? 115, okay, well, Mariana Juarez in Mexico is next.
Yeah.
But it just depends.
Yeah, no problem ripping off Shalito's name like that, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, well, she's one of the best in the U.S. right now, hands down. I train with her. She gets much respect from me also. But she is definitely one of the best fighters in the U.S., I think, at 123.
I can't argue it.
Cindy Serrano.
Yeah, no, Serrano, yeah, absolutely. She's something to be reckoned with. Hey, listen, always appreciate it. Before I let you get out of here, if you want to plug anything you're doing with, as always, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, have at it.
Yes, please. I love my followers. I love interacting with the fans. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, everything. All that Noemi Bosques, and the way you spell that is Noemi Bosques. I want to give a shout out to Shock Mom, Shock Mobile. I have a great support team behind me here in the area. Cheers Latin Restaurant, Brian Drutman, Anthony Gonzalez. Shout out to everybody.
All right, well, listen, we finally got you when you weren't driving through the boonies, which is a plus.
I'm still in the boonies, but at least I'm not driving, so I was able to talk with you for a little bit. Thanks for having me, though. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Right back at you. The best of luck against Heather, and we'll certainly talk after the fight. Thanks, Noemi.
Thank you. Good night.
All right, there you have it. A very good rising fighter in Noemi Bosques getting ready to take on Heather the Heat Hardy. We'll certainly talk to Heather as well closer to the fight. All right, we'll take a time out. We'll hear from our good friends at Grit to Glory, and then when we come back, we'll put a wrap on Monday's edition of Double Jab Radio live inside the Journeyman Boxing Studios. Grit to Glory creates products to fundraise and recognize real role models, people who are enduring tremendous struggles. Grit to Glory uses their stories to encourage others. Grit to Glory's motive and rallying cry is simple. No retreat, no reserves, no regrets. Where is your motivation? Choose from several inspirational t-shirts like the Military Tribute Tee, Got Grit Tee, the 9/11 Tribute Tee, and of course, the Grit to Glory tee. Grit to Glory is a brand that gives back. Portion of every purchase is donated to a worthy cause. Visit www.grit2glory.com. That's grit2glory.com. Like them on Facebook. Recognize a hero in your life by posting their story and giving them a shirt. Without grit, there is no glory. And always remember, you must have grit to achieve glory. Win or lose, the glory is in what you learn about yourself in the fight. Please share your story with Grit to Glory. Purchase a shirt and wear your motivation. Grit to Glory, a proud sponsor of Double Jab Radio on Journeyman Boxing. All right, welcome back, everyone, inside the Journeyman Boxing Studios. This is Double Jab Radio, a Monday edition. Some good fights over the weekend, as we alluded to. We will certainly break down more of what transpired in Philadelphia, as well as the Canelo Alvarez and James Kirkland fight. We also have some good East Coast boxing coming up. We'll touch base with some fights in Virginia and Maryland. Also, we'll dive into the AMI ranks as well with the trials right around the corner. And if you missed the conversation with Leroy Davila, definitely check us out on the Double Jab podcast page on Journeyman Boxing. Really good U.S. hopeful trying to come home with a medal in 2016. But that's going to do it. That's going to start wrapping it up on a Monday edition of Double Jab Radio from our good friends at grit2glory.com, as well as our good friends at the AC PAL, and of course, Victory Boxing. All right, folks, also want to remind everyone that the updates from the AC PAL Best of the Best tournament this past weekend have been posted up on the Amateur Hour section of Journeyman Boxing. They've been tweeted out as well. And really, as I kind of rip through it, a couple names that stand out. Really good showing from the AC PAL as we close it out. But Francisco Rodriguez, Jason Carfino, James Galloway had some big wins. Michael Ruiz from Checkmate Boxing had a big win in the first bout of the afternoon. And a heavyweight, kind of a late bloomer, Quan Davis, keep an eye out for him. And also Craig Johnson from the AC PAL scored a vicious TKO, 127 into the first against Damian Brook, who is from Unattached. So definitely check out some of the videos up on our YouTube page, which we will be posting probably by Wednesday or so on the boxing channel, exclusive broadcasting rights here via Journeyman Boxing. So that's going to do it. A Monday edition of Journeyman Boxing in the books, as I alluded to. Always check out the fresh content on Journeyman Boxing, and we always love to take you beyond the fight. Later on in the week, we'll be on the road, traveling to a couple gyms throughout the Jersey area, getting some good footage as well, and some one-on-ones. We'll be posting them as well. Also, Wednesday show, we'll talk more about the pro ranks. We'll get into what's going to transpire in a couple weeks down in Virginia, Maryland, Washington, with some more female boxing as well. As always, everyone have a good Monday night. Don't forget to follow us on journeymanboxing.com, subscribe, and also follow us on Twitter, RichQ1Q, as well as my photographer, Shade Shagoggi, S. Shagoggi, and we always love to take you guys beyond the fight. Everyone have a good night. We'll talk to you soon, and as always, we'll see you next time, ringside.